Hello everyone, ¿cómo están? This is Luis Burga, but you can call me Buga. And
hello everyone, hope you're all doing good. I'm Pablo Woolls-Blanco, but feel free to just call me Pablo.
And welcome to the very first, you could say pilot episode of the Engine Room podcast. The purpose of this pilot episode, is to get you, our audience, involved in the creation process of one of our biggest projects yet as content creators and aspiring sports media producers. On top of that, it gives us the opportunity to test our synergy in all levels of production. So bear with us as we dwell into the world of podcasting for the very first time. Please remember to leave feedback on today's episode and be prepared to gear up for an exciting and proper launch in early 2021. So Pablo, now I think, why don't you open up the episode with our hot takes, and so the audience can listen what you have.
Yeah, so my hot take for today is going to be surrounding Barcelona, who at time of recording last night, they picked up a really important victory over Real Sociedad. But I wanted to talk about a Barcelona centre-back, a young one, and it's actually going to be Ronald Araujo. And my hot take is that Ronald Araujo, right now, is Barcelona's best centre-back. He's our fastest centre-back. He looks our most complete centre-back. And on top of that, it proves the use of La Masia, how valuable La Masia is to Barcelona, and it continues to prove that Barcelona simply must go down the route, if you like, of using youth players. I think Araujo comes in, you look at Mingueza, we can talk about Pedri as well, but I wanted to focus on Araujo simply because the centre-back issue at Barcelona is something that's still relevant, really, I feel. We've had a lot of issues at the heart of defence, certainly over the last couple of years, so I think Araujo coming through right now, my hot take would be that he looks like one of the best centre-backs at Barcelona right now, and my hot take is that he is the best the way he's playing. And I think we've got someone who can be a monster for the future right there in the heart of defence. So my hot take is all about Ronald Araujo and how good he's looking right now.
I have to agree that, honestly, when we look on paper what Barcelona has, I do think that Ronald Araujo is probably up there with the best that we've got, in the sense that, in my opinion, from the first time I saw him, the first thing that strikes me is that, one, he's young, but two, how kind of physically imposing he is at that age. Like, he's proper tall. He has that like top frame, you know? And that is sort of what you want on a center back. And he's not going to go and be afraid of kind of going into challenges and things like that. So that's a thing that catches me by surprise. But on top of that, you say the speed that he has. And one of the main struggles that Barcelona has had, of course, is their transition into defense. So by allowing Ronald Araujo then to just simply cover up those spaces in transition faster, because, he's just quicker, he's younger, he's fresher. It's just such a good look. And I saw in that game, the last game, Barça Real Sociedad, where actually Busquets played way better. I don't know if you agree. You think Busquets played better?
I did, yeah. I was not surprised to see him taken off because of his recent form, but I think our overall play, actually deteriorated when Busquets was taken off, and I think he's the sort of player that if he's playing well, we should leave him out there. So yeah, I would agree. I thought Busquets had an improved performance last night.
Exactly. So I was thinking, why was that the case? How come all of a sudden Sergio Busquets looks way, way better? Well, I ended up with the conclusion that it was due to the two young center backs, you know? So by having these fresher new faces, basically, in our defense, we are seeing that Busquets can administrate better his energy and basically what he runs. How much of his game is he willing to actually take that responsibility for? So by letting Araujo and Mingueza pressure those incoming runners, then Busquets has more time to actually anticipate the interception, to anticipate the pass, and be better in that sort of scenario. So I like this. By not having the legs in the midfield, we are having those legs in the defense. And on top of that we just have two La Masia graduates playing there is such an amazing thing to see. You know, I'm really happy that finally we have some young players progressing, especially in the defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole La Masia thing is always really interesting to talk about with Barcelona. Should they be using these players? Is Equipo ready? Is Aleñá ready? Should they be playing constant, consistent football for Barcelona as starting players? And I think there's a fine line between saying that we want a full starting 11 of youth players and that this is completely the way to go and that, it can all be a fairy tale. We can all live happily ever after with 11 youth players. But I think it's more that whenever we see them brought into the team, you get someone like Mingueza who, in his La Masia days, when he's been a player for Barcelona, hasn't been that outstanding, if I'm correct in saying that. I don't think he's been one of the top talents we've seen coming through in recent years, yet when he steps in at Barcelona in the first team at centre-back, he plays an excellent role. He's, proved himself massively, and I think that proves in itself that even the lesser players in La Masia, when they come in, they're playing fantastically, and I think it's something that at Barcelona, maybe more uniquely than any other club, when the players who come up from the youth system play in the first team, they do a fantastic job. So I think it is for Barcelona something that has to be looked at more in the future. It's almost a proven strategy right now. I think we're seeing whoever comes in from the youth team does a pretty good job, so why not use it more? For me, we see players like Pedri, who I'm well aware isn't from the youth team. He's just a Spanish youth product, but of course, a diehard Barcelona fan. Someone who clearly cares a lot for the club. We saw that with an amazing goal line challenge at the end there, in what I thought was a certain goal-free sack. But these sort of players, the young ones, the guys from La Masia, they always fit in, like a glove in the Barcelona system. So for me, I think they should be used more. Araujo's a great example of that. So is Mingueza, so is Ansu Fati. So, so are our great players, Busquets, Puyol, Iniesta, Xavi, Messi. All of the best players in Barcelona history come from La Masia. So I just think it's a system. It's one of the best youth setups in the world that simply must be used more.
This is going to make for a boring podcast per se, because I agree with you in everything that you say there. So now swiftly moving into my hot take per se, I have actually chosen Marc Overmars as my main topic that I want to discuss and bring forward to you guys, because I think that Overmars, as we know, we've heard the news, he is ready to leave Ajax. And we have been speculating, and this news came out by Oriol Domenech in Programa Once in Spain, saying that perhaps his departure from the Dutch club could be due to him possibly taking up the position as a sporting director for one of the presidential candidates in these new elections for Barcelona. So my hot take is that actually Overmars could become even the biggest signing, the most important, the most vital transfer, you could call it at that Barcelona could make, because in reality, he has been at the helm of so many big transfers before at Ajax. And I just feel that having someone that is actually dedicated to the job precisely could bring in a new just influx, a new scenery. And it may be good for Overmars as well to change that. Perhaps he has gotten fed up of Edwin van der Sar or whatever, and now it's time to move to Barcelona. I would really like for him to take a position here, because by all accounts, he would be, I believe, an improvement from Eric Abidal and what we had before.
Yeah, I think the whole Overmars news was really interesting. I expected him to certainly stay at Ajax, and also the news that he could be coming to Barcelona I found interesting. Under what president, we don't know, like you said. My initial reaction was he would be the sporting director for Joan Laporta, who looks like he's in the front running right now to take hold of Barcelona's presidency yet again. So I get the feeling if Laporta comes, Overmars could come with him as sporting director, and I think it's a positive thing you said there that it could be one of the Barcelona's best signings, getting in a sporting director. I completely agree, and I think he's also suited to the role. We've seen what he's done at a club like Ajax. He's very, very good at planning the squad, bringing in very, very cheap hidden gems, if you like. So that is essentially what Barcelona are looking for in a sporting director, someone who can see, when we don't need to sign anyone because there's clearly youth products in that position, when we need to bring someone in because maybe we need a Haaland, for example, because Barcelona are struggling in the striking area. There's no one coming through at La Masia right now in the centre forward area. Let's go and get someone like Haaland. I think Overmars could be good for Barcelona, and if he comes in under Laporta, maybe Victor Font, like you said, we don't know the name yet. But I think Overmars would be a great sporting director for Barcelona. He's proven himself at Ajax. And it's something I would be excited about for sure.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add that I forgot to say is that actually he was the guy who helped appoint both Peter Bosz when Ajax reached the Europa League final, and also Erik ten Hag. And if you go and kind of read it back, rewind a little bit the years to Joan Laporta when he was appointed in 2003, one thing that Laporta struggled for was appointing a manager, because he wanted, first of all, he wanted Gus Hiddink. He didn't get that. Well, he wanted Guardiola first, but Guardiola didn't accept. So he wanted Gus Hiddink after that. Then he looked for actually Koeman, who was currently at Ajax, if I'm not wrong. And then he also then looked for Rijkaard. So he actually kind of went through many names. And if signing Overmars could be the way of kind of narrowing that down and actually help him get, let's say, the right manager from the job from the get-go, that will be really good, because you don't have to go through kind of weak projects, because we know managers come, they go, they leave their pieces behind, and it will take one extra year for a new manager to kind of rebuild it up. So I would like that if Overmars can help us get a good manager. And you see that he has a pretty good track record. I don't know about you, but Peter Bosz, when he went to Dortmund, I thought he was going to do good. He didn't do that well. But then he went to now Leverkusen, and Leverkusen are top of the Bundesliga. So, like, we're seeing a guy who has a pretty track record, and is having and both, like, managers in Ten Hag and Bosz have been both very attacking ones. So it's kind of what we want the Barca. So it seems like he knows his stuff.
I would agree. I think Overmars, if he comes to Barcelona, it's an all-round positive thing, and I think a sporting director is massive. I know Abidal kind of had that sort of role. I don't think it was entirely sporting director, if I'm correct, but he was mainly in charge of finding players and signing them. So it'd be a big breath of fresh air, if you like, for Barcelona if someone like Overmars came in, who for me is much better at that role than someone like Eric Abidal.
Yeah, I just want to say, before we move into our main topic again, like, how bad was Abidal? Like, my goodness, like, I thought it was gonna be like decent, but no, I don't know what happened to him. Like, I think sometimes players need to realize when is their time to just like separate themselves from the club. You know, just not playing, but actually like good things come to an end, and just enjoy that and take it as well. Because I think he came in actually more of like, oh, you know what? I'm available. I can do the job, unless like he was actually appointed. So I think he shouldn't have taken that job, and that's why, for instance, Xavi is a guy that I don't want to get into the whole Xavi thing now. We could leave that for an entirely different podcast. But it's like, but Xavi's, you know, he's kind of saying, you know what? Maybe now it's not the time. Maybe next year. Last year he said that. Now he could say next year. So even if Victor Font, Laporta, they have contacted Xavi, who knows? Maybe Xavi could say, you know what, after the 2022 World Cup, maybe Xavi thinks, you know what, maybe I shouldn't really manage Messi, or maybe I really shouldn't manage Piqué and all of them. I want to manage a new breed. Who knows? We just have to see, I guess.
Okay, so now, guys, we're going to be moving into our second section, and the main section, really, for this entire podcast, maybe why some of you guys clicked on it, and that's going to be discussing the Champions League draw. Now, over the past week or so, we saw, of course, the teams be drawn for the Champions League. Some interesting ties in there, maybe some ones that look more clear-cut than others. So we wanted to basically do a massive round-up discussion of all the games one by one, the ins and outs of them, and kind of give our opinion on what we think is going to happen. Of course, it's very early days. A lot can change in almost 3 months between these games, to be honest. But it's early days, but I think there's certainly some interesting ties to discuss. So, Luis, let's start with Leipzig versus Liverpool. Give me your initial thoughts on this one.
Just from initial thought, I'm like, if I'm Klopp, you know what? If I'm Klopp, I'm sitting in his new office. Have you seen the pictures of the new Liverpool training ground? Okay, it looks pretty fancy. Okay,
moved out, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm in my new seat, you know, my new leather seat, and I think if there's one team that I don't want to get, apart from like obvious candidates, it's Leipzig, because Leipzig is a headache. Leipzig is a team that are going to grind you out, and they know exactly how to mold. They're a very kind of flexible team. I look at them and I feel they're like, I don't know, like a plastiline. They can't just be anything, you know? So that's what I think Klopp has been thinking when they got Leipzig. And especially because Leipzig now, with I could say with the departure of Timo Werner, they're becoming much a collective unit. And recently, just today, as we are doing this podcast, if I'm not wrong, they already announced Szoboszlai.
They have, yep. That's official.
So what you're telling me is that they have an amazing free kick taker. So since they take away that reference of Timo Werner, they've been kind of joining it with Dani Olmo here. You could have Poulsen over there and mix it now with Szoboszlai. You could see Nkunku, just so many players now. And that actually, it's a pretty good boost. For instance, I wouldn't have given Leipzig any shot last Champions League. Remember Werner decided to actually leave to Chelsea first, so he wouldn't participate in the Champions League. I was like, without Werner, what is Leipzig going to do? And they surprised us, or surprised me at least, in the sense that they did manage to get through Atletico Madrid. They grinded out that result. They knew how to make Atletico struggle, and on top of that, they made it so PSG also had a very hard time. I'm thinking here, Liverpool are gonna have a difficult time. What do you think?
I agree. I think Leipzig are certainly an impressive team. Like you said, they're unbelievably flexible. Like, we don't really know what formation that is going on with Nagelsmann's side, but they've got a great coach, a really good team. But I do think that Klopp's Liverpool, the machine that I call them, are going to just progress here. I really do. Just because they're so good at dealing with these sorts of games. Even how good Leipzig are, the Szoboszlai signing is great. We're talking about Dani Olmo, Angelino, Upamecano. Great players all over the pitch. Really nice, tidy players. But Liverpool have got too much for me. Their machine, they've got the second leg at Anfield. I can't really see anything other than Liverpool progressing, despite the fact, like you said, this was one of the hardest ties Liverpool could have got. It was either the Atletico or Leipzig, for me, were the two best teams in pot 2 that Liverpool could have faced. So I do think it's a hard game. I really do. I think Leipzig are an impressive team. They're a team I really enjoy watching. We saw, they got out of a really tough group. They knocked out Man United. They battered United really for large parts of that game. So, they're a great team. But I do think the machine that is Liverpool will tick over once more and get through in this one.
I do agree. I think Liverpool are going to be a strong side, and if they have Trent Alexander-Arnold, basically they have almost all of their players back already fit from what was a pretty difficult struggle.
Yeah, they're getting there. Yeah,
they are a difficult team to beat. And especially the second leg at Anfield is massive.
Yeah.
Like, actually, fun fact: do you know what is the first stadium I went to ever?
No.
Like in European football?
No.
It's at Anfield.
Really?
The first, the first stadium I've ever been to.
What game was it?
I went to watch.
What game was it?
It was Liverpool versus Manchester City in the Champions League when they beat them 3-0.
Oh, that one. How did you go to that?
Yeah, I was like, so I kind of went to look up for universities.
Yeah.
In the UK.
Yeah.
And I went Bournemouth, Norwich, around. I went all around, and one of them was in Liverpool. And actually, just the dates that I was staying there, it was the game of the Champions League. And I just kind of saved my money up, asked my dad to like pay me like 40% of the ticket, and then I could pay him later. And he said, sure. And I went there, I watched the game. I sat next to the right, I had like a French family, and to my left, I had like a family from like Iran or Pakistan, something along those lines. And nothing. I was just there enjoying the game, and my goodness, it was my first experience of like proper European football. And let me tell you, in South America, it's like it's more like a battle. It's more like you're going to watch people fight.
Yeah,
whilst,
it really is.
whilst in Europe, it's more like I'm going to watch going to a theater.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if it's a weird comparison. It may be. But for me, it was like going to an event. It was going to like something that the whole day was consumed by that. I was like non-stop thinking about it. I was just reading articles and rereading the articles again, just to I don't know, get myself hyped up for the game. And it was really good. Like, and also the atmosphere was incredible in Anfield.
It must have been,
It's weird because it was the first game that I ever saw. I haven't returned to Anfield yet. So I don't know how to compare that, because then I went to Camp Nou. I've been to different stadiums now, but it was certainly something that I was like, wow, this is special. This is special. And on top of that, I didn't have internet. I remember the guy next to me was telling me like, okay, Barcelona has just scored against Roma, and I was like 4-1 and stuff like that. And you want to know another fun thing? So when I returned from that trip, actually now I was taking the plane from London, Spain, Madrid. And then it was Madrid to Miami. And I was kind of like on the plane now from Spain to Miami, like ready to embark. But before that, since I was in the plane and I had no internet from London to Spain, I opened my phone and it was Barcelona. I didn't watch the game. It was Barcelona nil, Roma 3.
Oh my god.
And I booked the flight at that time because it's like, there's no way that I'm ever gonna there's no way that Barcelona is gonna lose to Roma, so it's fine. I'm gonna book it at that time, and we lost.
What a horrible evening.
I never had that. Yeah.
All right, now we're going to move on to the second draw. That's going to be Barcelona versus PSG, of course, going to be played on the same night as Leipzig-Liverpool, so probably only going to be able to watch one, which is annoying. But I think from a Barcelona point of view, this is probably one of the best draws we could have got. I'll start with my thoughts on the game. I think despite the fact that we've come second in the group, the second leg is going to be away in Paris, which Barcelona hate the second leg when it's not at the Camp Nou. We've got to get that out of our system, so hopefully this will be a good chance for us to do that. But, forgetting about the 6-1 in 2017, which was an amazing game, over those two legs, that was crazy Champions League football. But I think we're looking for it this season. It's interesting, because like I said, I think it is one of the best draws Barca could have got. You're looking at who else Barca could have got: Chelsea, Bayern, Manchester City, Liverpool. It's not the worst. PSG are fragile. They're a bit like Barcelona in the way that they do have amazing attackers when they're on their day. They can hurt any team, but at the back, they don't have that much quality. They're not that solid. And also, PSG are known for bottling it, if you like, for slipping up in early rounds of Champions League. So if there is a chance of this Barca side this season, which isn't that good, it's not as its peak despite that good performance and result last night against leader Sociedad, I think that for Barcelona, it's doable. I think it is doable. We have enough quality in the team. I think if our team is on point on the evening, the players are all on the same wavelength, I'd like to say, because we've seen too many times away from home in the Champions League for Barcelona, poor performances, disjointed, the lack of attitude, the lack of desire. If it's a good evening for Barcelona, I think they've got a good chance against PSG, I really do. I think we could say the same for PSG there, but they're both teams that can either be very good or very bad. So it's going to be really interesting to see how things balance out. I think a massive point is the fact that, like I've said, the second leg is in Paris. That, for me, gives PSG a huge advantage. Say they get away goals in Catalonia, they can take them back to Paris and hope that Barcelona will do nothing at their home ground because, like we've said, away from home in the Champions League, Barcelona are very, very poor. So I think it is a good test. It's not the worst we could have got. But what are your thoughts on this one, Luis? Because I think it is an interesting one, this tie.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull it back to you, or bring it. I don't know how you can say it. Well, my English, I just died for a second there. So what do you think in terms of percentages is? Like, how much percentage would you give possibilities of going through to PSG or to Barcelona? So in my case, I honestly think, I still think that PSG are a little bit more favorites. I don't know about you, but I do think that on paper, they're a bit more favorites. So I am going with Barcelona 45% and PSG 55%. The thing that I like about this tie is that I was talking to my friends the other day after, I think it was after the draw, just after the draw, and I was saying to my friend there, he's a Real Madrid fan, we were saying, like, honestly, this is good for Barcelona in the sense that it's not a Liverpool, it's not a Bayern Munich where you just simply go, oh, okay, done, pack your bags, guys, we're done, we're done here, we're gonna lose. So it's not that. It's actually going to give you a test. It's actually going to be a moment where Barca can test themselves and see if they can pull themselves together to perform in a night like this. And that is what I like. It's actually giving me hope of actually watching a game where I know or I feel that Barca can progress. It's not like, okay, the lineup doesn't really matter in this case, but if you put a good team there, they can perform. We've seen it against Juventus in a game. We've seen it against Real Sociedad now. They can perform. It's just whether they want to turn up, is they have the right attitude. I think that what really helped Barcelona, for instance, against Real Sociedad, was the sense that there was a lot of discussion surrounding the dressing room. So they were like, you know what, guys, let's turn up. And I think that will happen again against PSG. They will be like, Barcelona is ruled out. Everyone is going to be talking about Neymar. Everyone's going to be talking about Mbappe, Di Maria, whatever. And it's just going to make Barcelona, feel like we can actually progress here. And I also like that Barcelona now could be considered underdogs.
Yeah, I think we are going into this for sure.
Yeah, and I think that could be a good positive from, I guess, a tactical perspective, or I guess just more footballistic reasons, if that's even a word.
Yeah.
You could say that PSG do look like they can field a player in every single position where you say, okay, they're decent, they're good enough.
Yeah.
You can have the leaders that Barcelona currently do not have. For instance, I like Marquinhos a lot.
Yeah.
I feel that Marquinhos has developed into a very not promising, but very kind of imposing center back, in the sense that he turns up and gets his team kind of riled up for the big occasion and in the moments in the game where they need it the most. Like he scored against Leipzig, right? Last year. And then he scored against Atalanta as well to get to the final. And then he scored against United. So it's like this guy is like actually turning up in those big moments. So in this one, who do you think is going to go through? So we know that PSG are favorites. But do you think Barca can pull out the result, especially like in the Camp Nou? If they can get a 2-0 win, then go to Parc des Princes, would that be a good enough result, or they would have to like batter PSG? I honestly would like to see kind of like a 2-1 result for Barca in the first leg, because then they will have to be pressured to actually perform, and I want Barca to break that voodoo.
Yeah, literally. Oh. What I'll say is, when you said 2-0, I was just about to say, well, probably not, because then PSG will win 3-0. You know, we know how this goes now. Barcelona in the second leg of Champions League have collapsed. This presents another opportunity to go away from home in the Champions League in the second leg and really perform. So that's why I'm weirdly excited for it, because I just think, like we said earlier, we get to see what this Barcelona team is made of. Maybe they'll collapse, you know, that's definitely a possibility, especially with the second leg away from home. But my hope is they break this sort of curse, this voodoo, and please get a result. In terms of predicting or picking one side, it's hard right now, it really is. I think, look, if I was to go with my brain, I would have to say PSG. If I was a neutral, I'd say PSG. Despite Barcelona looking good of late, I think PSG have got a lot of quality, in Barcelona away from home in the second leg. I know we've spoken about it a lot, but I do think for this Barcelona side, for some reason, they care about that so goddamn much. So, yeah, if I was to go one way, I'd unfortunately have to just tip PSG, but that can all change.
Yeah, I think very similar to you. Two things before we move then into the next one is just that, first of all, if you, audience, are expecting a 6-0 kind of remontada, that's not going to happen. That's an anomaly. That's like a 1 in a million years. Yeah. That is not going to happen. And two, we of course do not know, because we also kind of have to realize that that's when the birthday of Neymar's sister is. So maybe he will go back to Brazil, un poquito de samba, and maybe he will just not be focusing. We have to see.
All right, I'm going to move on swiftly now to the next tie, which is going to be Sevilla versus Dortmund. My initial thoughts on this one were that overall, it's the weakest tie, if I can say that in inverted commas, between...
Really? Like weakest?
I say weakest in the way that there isn't a giant in this game. The other games, there's Liverpool, there's Juventus, there's Chelsea, Atletico, you've got Bayern, Real Madrid, Man City.
Okay.
This is
I was losing my mind a little. I was like, what?
This is a nicely balanced game. It's very even, but I say weakest because there isn't. I don't think there's a clear favourite. I don't think there's a big side in this that is a European elite. That makes it interesting. Speaking about Sevilla, I'm a big fan of Sevilla. I'm a big fan of Lopetegui, the sort of players they've got. Monchi, of course, is their sporting director. We spoke about sporting directors earlier. He does a great job in his role, basically. He signs players for cheap, like Koundé, who do very well. Diego Carlos, who, of course, you know, all of Europe want the guys that Sevilla sign for 20 million. That's the way it goes, really. So they've got a great team, and Dortmund, similar in a way. The thing about Dortmund is interesting because, yes, they got Haaland, yes, they got Sancho. They have got some great players, but they've just sacked their manager. They've got a new guy in called Terzic, is it? If I was to be completely honest, I'd never heard of the guy before. So I don't know how Dortmund are going to do. What I'll say for this one is I'm probably weirdly leaning towards Dortmund. I don't think they're that good of a team. I actually think whoever gets through this tie, by the way, that's the team you want to face in the quarterfinals. Say Barcelona beat PSG, I want us to play the winner of this game. I don't think these two teams are very strong this season at all. We saw Sevilla, you know, they got battered by Chelsea and they didn't look that good in their group stage right now. In the league this season also, they really struggled to score, you know, mainly headers from En-Nesyri here and there. Dortmund, again, you know, completely falling off in Bundesliga, some humiliating results as well, and that can all change with a new manager. With Haaland on the pitch, anything's possible. For me, that guy's a robot, a machine. So that gives Dortmund a good chance. I think the second leg at the Signal Iduna Park will be vital for Dortmund. And I think if Haaland is on form, they've got a really good chance of going through. Probably a good chance that they thought they wouldn't have had with how poorly they've been doing this season.
Yeah, honestly, I have to agree with you. I do feel, for instance, here on the script, I wrote that, in my opinion, it was 40% for Sevilla and then 60 for Dortmund, because even the fact that Dortmund right now don't have the manager, they don't have a manager. They don't. They have this guy Terzic, which is the kind of second coach. We'll see if they will stick with him, but the reality is that they have more talent in their team. They have, like, when you look at Sevilla's team, you see the front three that they have. They have Ocampos, Luke De Jong, and that's where it ends pretty much. You have then Munir, ex Barca. Then you have who else? Ronnie Lopez. I think they loaned him out to Nice. They have this guy Idrissi, I think, I don't know, from Morocco. So that's where it stays. That's where Sevilla. That's their cap. I would say it. I feel that they're a team that once again they can grind you out, and unlike previous Sevillas of old, like the ones from San Paoli, this Sevilla side looks more, I wouldn't say vulnerable, but less explosive. A team that won't necessarily be able to dominate a game completely, to the sense that they will be able to just batter you 2-0 and it will be hard for you to get back into it. I don't think that's the way that Sevilla. So I don't think that's the way Sevilla will play. So I was surprised that they managed to get to the Europa League final, I must admit, last season. But from there onwards, I don't really see much quality, like I said. In the case of Dortmund, on the other hand, we have, like I said, this team that has way more talent. And for me, that's good enough for them to surpass a team like Sevilla. Jadon Sancho needs to raise his game up a bit. He's been not really good enough this season. Haaland has been pretty much unplayable. And from there onwards, they just keep going with, like I said, lines of quality. So yeah, for me, Dortmund, they have that in them. And I do like Dortmund in the sense that I have to disagree with you when you say that the next round it will be the team that you would like to face. I think that Dortmund are a difficult side in the sense that they have what Sevilla lack, which is that explosiveness. One game they can beat you 3-0 and destroy you, and the other one they can be just completely god awful, and it'll be really simple for Barcelona or any team by that matter, to dismantle them. Just remember, go back to last season. Remember that Barca played Dortmund in the group stage. In Germany, they were incredible. Barcelona were struggling. At the Camp Nou, like they were nothing. They were a shadow of themselves.
Easy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel 60% Dortmund, 40 Sevilla is what I would like to go. Yep. So we both are saying Dortmund here.
All right. That moves us on quite nicely. We got through that one nice and quickly. On to another. For me, this is maybe my least favorite tie of the whole round. Porto versus Juventus. For me, I don't see much in this game. I'm going to start with you. What do you think about this game initially?
Juventus, I must admit, it's not a team that has fascinated me this season so far. I look at a team that is very workman-like in Juventus, but it's trying to be something better. It's trying to be like more glamorous. I think like this girl that puts so much makeup to just think that she's the coolest girl in the school. I think that's what she's trying to be. That's what Pirlo is basically trying to give to Juventus. But I feel that it's just there's something still that is yet to click for me for them. They do show that they have the capability of being, I would say, pretty much like I've been repeating myself, unplayable in the way that they literally just dismantle Barcelona. But I don't know if that's rather because Barcelona were so god awful or whether Juventus was actually pretty good. In Porto, I just see a team that is gonna have way too little for Juventus, honestly, and I don't really see much challenge from them. They have some decent players here and there. Otavio has been playing really good for them lately. Corona is always going to be certainly a mess to play for the right-hand side. But in reality, when you're facing Juventus and you're facing the monster that is Cristiano Ronaldo, one penalty and you know it's over. So that's what I hate about Ronaldo, honestly. It's sometimes I've had so many games where I just literally go, Ronaldo, why do you ruin this for me? Because it's literally like, Ronaldo is going to score 2 goals and then the game is over. There's literally no way. He's not going to let his team fall down like that. And we've seen that so many times. So, yeah, that's what I think. I think Juventus have this easy one. Honestly, I gave Juventus here 70% to progress, just 30 to Porto.
Yeah, I'd almost give them like 80-20 there. I see very little in this for Porto. I honestly do. I think this is a routine victory, even for this Juventus that, like you said, is almost caught between two styles. With they've got good defensive players in a setup that we've seen over the last decade with Conte, with Allegri. Now they've got Pirlo in, who I think wants to play almost a different brand of football, more attacking with Kulusevski or Chiesa. Morata's been scoring a lot of goals. They've, of course, got Ronaldo up there who guarantees goals. And I don't really think Juventus look that good in this season. I think that the Barcelona game, they turned it up. They know they needed a 3-0 victory. They got that. They played very forcefully with a lot of intensity in their play. We saw that for sure. I think against Porto, over 2 legs, 180 minutes of Ronaldo against Porto, Juventus are going to go through, is the way I'll say it. Look, Porto, for me in the group stages, actually didn't look that bad. I know they didn't have the hardest of groups, but whenever they played against City, they didn't do badly. Malang Sarr, who's actually on loan from Chelsea, he slots into their defence quite nicely. Their defensive setup isn't bad, Porto, from what I've seen, which is only a few half an hours there, here and there in matches, but I just think this is so routine for Juventus, and it's gutting as a Barcelona fan, because we've seen, obviously, Barcelona come second in the group, and we've got PSG. We've seen Juventus come third in the group, or first in the group, sorry, and they've got Porto, so it feels like a free pass, this for Juventus, and there isn't really much else to say on it other than this could be even more Champions League goals for Ronaldo, probably headers, probably penalties. So yeah, I'm not really looking forward to this game that much. I don't think it's a spectacle. I think it's simple for Juventus, and I think Porto will be going out. All right, I'll move on very quickly then, probably from an uninteresting tie to a really interesting one. Atletico de Madrid against Chelsea in, for me, what is the tie of the round, probably up there with Barca PSG, but I think we're seeing two teams here that are quietly challenging for the titles in their both respective leagues, although that's taken a bit of a turn for the worse regarding Chelsea in recent weeks, and even for Atletico with the Madrid derby defeat. But for me, I've got a lot to say on this one, obviously, as a Chelsea fan. I was really upset with this draw as a Chelsea fan, basically because Chelsea are in pot 1, Atletico are the best team in pot 2, 100%. Them and Leipzig, for me, were the two strongest sides. And Atletico are the strongest in pot 2 by a country mile, only there because they were in a group with Bayern Munich. And what we've seen is a Chelsea side who played very well in the group stages, conceded very few goals, actually went to Sevilla on match day 5, and Giroud put 4 goals past them at the Sanchez Pizjuan. And then what we've seen is Sevilla draw against Dortmund and Chelsea draw against Atletico. So it does feel like a kick in the teeth, it really does. I think Chelsea could have had a good run in the Champions League this season, and still can. I think it's very, very finely poised, this one. I do think that there are certain players that Chelsea will need for this match, and that's what I'm going to move on to. I think Hakim Ziyech has to be fit for Chelsea, and if they're going to progress, to break down that wall that is Atletico, long shots, whipped balls in behind, that creativity from a wide area, him and Reece James on the right-hand side can be very dangerous. And also Christian Pulisic, 2 players who Chelsea have been without of for large parts of the season. I think they're crucial to break down Atletico. But like I said, this is about as hard as it gets for Chelsea, and Chelsea aren't that good against teams that sit deep, that soak up pressure, that can hurt you on the counter-attack. So I think Lampard will be deep down really frustrated that this is a draw. I think Simeone, he'll know what to do in this sort of fixture. You see Atletico, how good they can be at defending. It's so difficult to break them down when they're on their day on a Champions League night. I do worry for Chelsea a little bit, so yeah, as a Chelsea fan, I'm not going to lie. I was annoyed at this one. I was frustrated because it could be a long 2 legs. It really could be. If Atletico get the first goal, it could be curtains.
So in my opinion, from the get-go, I have to admit that Atletico Madrid this season, they have looked like a good side. But I still don't buy that they are going to be this incredible powerhouse that could actually just go late into the Champions League and win La Liga. That is where I feel I just fall short of Atletico. I don't really know if Simone has that in him to... Okay, I don't know how to say this. We've seen Atletico Madrid go far into the finals. We've seen Atletico Madrid win La Liga. But after that, Simone has struggled a lot to make his team actually challenge for those late kind of positions. And this season, I think they kind of just returned to balance. Whilst I think those last seasons was underperforming, I think this is where they should be. I don't know if you get what I mean there. So it's really more to the deficit of other teams not being better in La Liga that Atletico Madrid are actually doing that good in my eyes. So Chelsea, in this scenario, I do feel that they have a shot to win it. I really do feel it. When I was thinking about this matchup, Chelsea, in my opinion, was for a start, was 55%. 55% on favor of Chelsea. I don't know what you think about that. For you, how much is it? For you, it's 50-50, or you think?
For me, it really is bang on 50-50. Yeah, I do think that. I think it, like I said, it's the tie of the round. It's the most balanced tie. It's attack versus defense, really, and it's whether Chelsea can make sure that Atletico don't get their early goal, because when they sit in on a European night, my God, I'm telling you, we saw how Liverpool struggle. We've seen how so many teams struggle. When Atletico sit in, it is a wall like no other. It really is impressive. It is close to impossible to dig out chances. You get one shot on target per half. That's why I said how hard this is for Chelsea. But yeah, 50-50 for me.
You've honestly kind of won me over now, and I think Atletico are favourites.
It's that wall. It's that wall. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. It is. I was gutted when I saw Chelsea drawn against them, because I agree with you. Atletico, they're not that amazing, and the truth is, because we're saying that because they're just not. Like, they don't really attack. They haven't got. Yes, they've got good players for sure, but there are other sides who've got better players. Chelsea, for example, are one of those, with a great squad this season, especially. Chelsea are a side who you'd feel on paper can score goals against Atletico, can easily win this game over two legs, especially with the second leg in London at Stamford Bridge. But then you get into the game, you see Atletico in two lines of four, with how well drilled they are, and maybe getting an early goal from a corner, and all of a sudden you are close to out of that tie. They are so good at holding back in defence, and it does get close to impossible to break them down. As you know that as a Barcelona fan, we've seen that for years. When they are in that block, good luck getting past it.
Yeah, and I have to admit that the fact that Atletico Madrid play first at the Wanda, it's massive. It's massive for them, because if they're able to get the win there, like they did against Liverpool, 1-0. 1-0 is all they need. And then they go to Stamford Bridge, Frank Lampard panic. We're going to see him insulting Simeone like we saw when he did against Klopp. Simeone is just going to be giving him, the... I don't know how you say it in English. The one... that celebration he just did, los huevos. That's how you say it in Spanish.
Yeah.
So the people who understand are going to know. And I just think it's going to be like the perfect scenario for Atletico Madrid, because in this game, if you look at it from the wider perspective, Atletico Madrid are the favorites. I think they are. If let's say like that, if you ask them which team you think will win the Champions League, which team has more chances, I think the people will say more Atletico.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. And Simeone here, in the way that the draw has come, that they are actually going first at home, they have a scenario where they look like the underdogs. I feel that's the way. We discussed it with Barcelona before, where they got home. If Chelsea make a result, then they are certainly the underdogs. Even if here they get a 1-0 result, in a way, in their heads of Atletico Madrid players, they're still the underdogs. And I think that is going to be massive for them. I really, really do. And at Stamford Bridge, they have now, this season, they have more players to be able to be deadlier than what they were last season against Liverpool. Literally, the reason why Marcos Llorente is playing so good this season, why people are even mentioning his name, is because literally Atletico Madrid had no players to bring on off the bench against Liverpool. I think that's the only reason. Because they had no attackers that they could bring in, and they bring in Marcos Llorente, and Marcos Llorente just completely destroyed. So I think that is going to be a key thing now, because now you can bring Carrasco, you can bring Correa, João Felix can start, you have Suarez, and my goodness, Suarez is such a perfect fit for Atletico Madrid this year. He really, really is. He has that charrua garra, is how we say it in Spanish. The garra is just basically that instinct of aggression. And against Chelsea, I think that is something that, for instance, you don't see that much in the Premier League. I really liked when Diego Costa was there for you, because he was incredible to watch. I loved that when he was fighting off against Gabriel Paulista from Arsenal. Yeah. That's like the highlight of the year. So I like that. I would love to see Luis Suarez battle it out. Who do you think is Chelsea's now most like Diego Costa-like player that you have in your squad? If there's one that you would face off against Luis Suarez.
It would. This is a weird shout, but I'm going to say it. It would probably be Reece James. The guy has an interestingly strong build for a fullback. He's very, very tough, And in terms of you speaking about getting in the faces of players, that sort of Costa attitude, I was gonna say someone like Zuma, someone like Thiago Silva, maybe an attacker like Abraham, but actually they don't have that much of an attitude like Reece James does. Reece James is an extremely strong player, and he also gets in the face of the opposition quite a bit. But in all truth, Chelsea in the squad right now, we don't have anyone who can really compare to what Diego Costa brings in terms of that bite, that attitude on the pitch, constantly fighting people, the red cards. But yeah, there isn't really going to be anyone to compete with Suarez on that level. He's of course going to be next to Thiago Silva, which would be a really interesting battle. But in terms of strongest, that attitude is probably Reece James.
Yeah, and honestly, I think you're gonna need that. To beat Atletico Madrid, you need to play their game. It sounds bad. It sounds kind of almost idiotic, but that's sort of what Atletico Madrid does, and that is why they're so good, because they're gonna pull you into their game no matter what.
Honestly, if I was to be a neutral, I'd say Atletico. Even as a Chelsea fan, I have a bad feeling Atletico are going to go through. I can see them getting a 1-0 win at the Wanda. Then I can see Chelsea going 1-0 up at Stamford Bridge, but Atletico getting 1 or 2 goals back and winning this one on the counter-attack. I really can.
Yeah. So, okay, now moving into Lazio versus Bayern Munich. That is a pretty one-sided affair. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll keep this one short. I can only feel sorry for Lazio, really. Look, I thought Lazio actually nearly went out of the Champions League. They were playing Club Brugge on the final day, I believe. And my God, Brugge hit the crossbar in the 95th minute and so nearly knocked Lazio out. This is a nasty tie for Lazio. You can only feel for them. I can see this being, I don't know about heavy. I don't know how, what sort of mood Bayern will be in, but look, I'll say this is percentage-wise, maybe 18-90 to Bayern Munich. I think Bayern Munich will turn on the heat again in Europe. We've seen the Bundesliga title race, like we said earlier. Peter Bosz at Leverkusen, top of the league. So maybe Bayern aren't doing as well this season, but I still think they are the team to beat. They're playing probably one of the worst teams left in the competition in Lazio, and I think it's going to be an easy victory for Hansi Flick's Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I have to add on to that, honestly, that in my opinion, if you look at this Bayern Munich side, what they are now, to compare what they could be at the latter stages of the campaign, they're just going to get better. Because right now, you take a look at a team that are without Thiago, certainly because he left to Liverpool, but because of out of Kimmich as well. And they're missing 2 incredible world-class, probably the best at their role in the entirety of world football right now. And that is a huge, huge loss. Javi Martinez is not going to give you the output that Kimmich does. Don't even think about it. So it's going to be, right now, still good enough for them to beat Lazio. They have good enough players to do that. And as they just get their players back, like Kimmich, they're just going to be way better later on. So even though you may think Bayern Munich is weaker this season, they may be weaker now, but it doesn't mean they'll be the same by the end. Yeah, really, there isn't. Lazio, good luck, have fun.
Yeah, try and keep it under 10 is what I'll say. Over both legs.
Now Lazio beat Bayern Munich.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to maybe another one-sided game. For me, not so one-sided, but it's going to be Atalanta versus Real Madrid. Luis, hit me with your thoughts.
Yeah. I do think it's one-sided for Real Madrid, unfortunately. I'm speaking from a Barcelona point of view, and Real Madrid, they are not the best team right now in the world. They are not. But against Atalanta, they're certainly the better team, the better side. Atalanta, on top of that, they just look weaker, in my opinion, from last season. If you take a look at their kind of recent forms, it's just loss, draw, win. Loss, draw, win. Loss, draw, win. It's literally that for the entirety of the start of the season. And I don't know if you heard this, but the news about Papu Gomez potentially leaving.
Yeah, I've heard that. That is massive. That's a massive blow for this game. I agree.
If Papu Gomez leaves Atalanta in January, their chances go from I have them at 70. I have it 70% for Real Madrid, then 30 for Atalanta. You take Papu Gomez out and they fall to 10. They really, really do.
Yeah. I agree.
The loss of such creative output like Papu Gomez is going to be massive. But on top of that, if you add the fact that he's their captain, right? If I'm not wrong, he's the captain of Atalanta, it's going to create such an unstable environment in the dressing room. And probably that is the sole reason why teams don't win championships. So What do you think now about Real Madrid, quickly, before we move into our last game?
Real Madrid are a team I try to consider myself quite knowledgeable on because I watch a lot of Real Madrid. They're an interesting team, they really are. I just don't think they're that strong. I watch them and I think, look, you've got gaps there, you've got old players there, you're not fit, you don't create that many chances, you can only really score from crosses, you don't look that good tactically, and yet Zinedine Zidane and this Real Madrid team, they seem relentless winners. They keep on pulling out results. The other team will get a red card, or they'll get a penalty, or they'll miraculously go through on the final day. I mean, look, take this season as an example. We've seen, for me, Real Madrid in Europe in the Champions League almost be battered. They were
They end up first, bro.
Yeah.
How?
They,
With 10 points.
Shakhtar Donetsk have done the double over Zinedine Zidane's Real Madrid, and Zinedine Zidane's Real Madrid have ended top of the group. If you were to give a sentence that would sum up Zidane's time at Real, it would be that. They always end up on top, no matter the way they struggle, no matter how poorly they're playing. If he's missing, he's missing. They've lost that many games. None of it matters because Zidane, he stands there with his hands in his pockets, and everything works out in the end. It somehow always does. So I've had enough of that guy, honestly, on the sideline.
Yeah, for me, it's everything kind of summarized as self-belief. The amount of self-belief that Real Madrid has is honestly impressive. And one kind of, on another note, is, what's the word? Like, I feel jealous of that, you know? Because you want that in your team. And a lot of the Real Madrid fans, when you talk about football, they always have this badge of like honor because they're the most successful club in history, to be honest. They are. Like, that's a fact. And I guess you can brag about it because you have that ability to do so. You literally have the evidence there. But that is something also that translates into their players then, because they just believe they're this incredible machine. And when it comes down to those games, they just pulled out the result because of that, because that's self-belief. Like, it's really simple to get you motivated if Ramos comes in there and goes like, guys, look at us. Tenemos que ganar este partido. Somos como que Real Madrid, o sea, levántense. It's like literally, wake up, we are Real Madrid. It's really simple in the sense because you have the pressure of everything. So, yeah, Real Madrid, honestly, I don't know. I think that's part of their culture. You know, it's not going to change with Zinedine Zidane, really. Someone else could come in. But Zinedine Zidane just embodies that. He's literally, there's not a single player on that dressing room that can speak out to Zinedine Zidane. So the fact is there that I think they're a perfect marriage. I really do think that. Because they are the embodiment of each one on the field and as an institution. So that's what we got. Real Madrid, they can go far in the Champions League, really. I really do think that always. If you don't kind of just sucker punch Real Madrid, you have to make sure that they're dead. You know, if they're like a zombie, you have to double tap them just to make sure they don't rise up.
Yeah, they really are. Like I've said, I mean, we've seen them struggle this season, but I think you made a good point about that self-belief. That's what Zidane has. He embodies the club perfectly. The setup they have there right now with him as the coach, it just seems to work perfectly for me, and it always seems to come out well enough for Real Madrid under Zidane. I think they will obviously be making the quarterfinals for this one. I'm going to lead on to the final tie.
Wait. I'm Benzema. That guy doesn't die ever. Like, he always scores. What's up with that guy? Like, how?
I mean, yeah, Benzema is someone who I think we thought maybe years ago was finished. I remember he had a season not long ago, 17-18, I think. The season Valverde's first at Barca, where we nearly went unbeaten, one game lost. Benzema scored 5 La Liga goals. And after Ronaldo left, after Zidane came back for the second time as well, he's had this more prominent role. He's the leader of the team. He's the one Real Madrid look to for goals. And he relentlessly scores now. It's 1 a game, it's 2 a game. We've seen a rejuvenated Benzema. We've seen someone who, over the course of his career, continues to score goals. So yeah, that's fair of you to bring up before I went on to the next game, because Benzema, of course, I expect him to be scoring in probably both legs of this Atalanta fixture. All right, I will now finally move on to that game, Gladbach versus Manchester City. Borussia Mönchengladbach, Pep Guardiola's City. What do you think about this one, Luis?
Ooh, okay. So I actually do think that Borussia Mönchengladbach has a really good chance to kick out Manchester City of the Champions League. I do. I liked Borussia Mönchengladbach a lot in the group stage. I think they're a very deadly team. When you give them the opportunity, you have Plea, Embolo, Thuram just coming running at you. And I think that is something that Manchester City are going to concede. Those spaces in behind, that's literally the one thing that Pep Guardiola has never managed to kind of to control. That's the one thing that Pep Guardiola teams never managed to keep under control. The reason why Barcelona were so good with Pep was before was because literally every single player on that team pressed. If you don't have every single outfield player in that team pressing, you're gonna concede those spaces. And Manchester City this season have not done that. We see how they're struggling right now in the Premier League. They have kind of shored up their defense a little bit more with the introduction of Ruben Diaz. I think Ruben Diaz was actually a really good signing for them because he's not a center back that likes to play with his feet a lot. He's just a center back. He's a traditional defender. And that is what they needed. They needed someone that will develop into a leader that is not afraid of coming in and going into an aggressive tackle, sliding when he needs to. He's that. And he's very good on the air as well. So they did manage to shore up their defense a bit in that scenario. But from the midfield, I just feel they look very weak. And you need that midfield, not only to control the game like City do, but more importantly, to press, to close down those spaces. And that is where I think Mönchengladbach could hurt them. Of course, City has a better squad. They have, I don't know how many billions kind of already injected into it. So, of course, you're going to look at them as favorites. But I do feel that Mönchengladbach has a shot here. What Marco Rose has done is pretty much incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think when predicting this tie, when picking a side, I'm going to pick Man City. I'd say it's about 60-40. I agree with you in the fact that it's close. I agree with you in saying City, they struggle so much with pacing behind. And Mönchengladbach have the style of play that can really damage a team like Manchester City. So what Roso's doing at the club is also very good. I've been very impressed with them in the group stages. Other than that final game against Real Madrid, I don't know what they were doing. They were dreadful, honestly. That was a bad performance from them. Of course, Real Madrid, like we just spoke about, they love turning up for those occasions. But I think for this game against City, they've got to make sure that they avoid embarrassment City yet again, because we've looked at the previous years. You look at Tottenham, of course, that year, that absolute collapse. That was a crazy game. You look at Monaco. You're looking at Lyon last season for me, which was almost the most embarrassing of the lot. And this, for me, has that sort of feel about it. The second leg at the Etihad. City have got to turn up. They've got to really show that, look, we've got this many quality players, this many billion. We're going to turn over Gladbach. I expect them to do so. I expect City will go through. But the collapses under Guardiola in the Champions League, I think are something that City fans, Manchester City owners, they'll be embarrassed about. And they will be feeling here, going into this one, we've got a good tie. But I think they'll have their fingers crossed so they don't get embarrassed again. They've got to make sure it does not happen. Because if it happens again, Guardiola, I wouldn't say he's got his legacy on the line because of how much of he's been a great coach for so many years now. But people already question the guy. But if he keeps going out to these sorts of sides with that much money, with everything at his disposal, it's not looking good for him. Like you said, it is tainted. So I think this was an interesting game. I'm looking forward to watching that one. Simply because whilst I think City will go through, let's see if they collapse again.
You know what? You say City. I'm gonna say Mönchengladbach. I'm gonna stick to Mönchengladbach. Yeah.
Okay guys, now so briefly just to wrap up the episode, it's something we want to be doing in future episodes also. We're going to be discussing some overtime stuff, some overtime chatter if you like, and I'm going to get straight into it by talking about some results midweek basically, because we kind of have to talk about some of these, some big Premier League games, which I'm going to start with. Liverpool-Tottenham as a first for me, I'll quickly say, I think this is a massive moment in the title race. I think whoever won this game was going to be favourites for the Premier League title. Liverpool have done it in the last minute. What do you think about that, Luis? I think Liverpool now favourites for the Premier League title.
I'm so sad, bro. I'm so sad. Because every year I change quickly. I support Barca straight out from the get-go every year. That's my club. I support them. I love them. But I always have this club that I go okay, I'm gonna watch this team a little bit more. So that has been Tottenham Hotspur this season because I just love Mourinho being there. I don't know why. I think they're a perfect matchup. And it's so sad, honestly, that they lost this game. They were pretty. I didn't watch the game that much. I saw the highlights. I read some of the analysis after the game. And there was classic Mourinho, right? It was classic Mourinho in the sense that he was defending not every single time. And I guess at the end, okay, Liverpool nicked it. It's fine. But hopefully this isn't where the wheels start to fall off of the bus of Mourinho. You know, hopefully they can pick up from this, because I feel that Tottenham can actually challenge Liverpool for this title. So yeah, I feel it's a slip up, but they can continue.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. Let's move on. Let's move on to Chelsea now, who I suppose were also maybe the third team in the title race. Maybe not so much now. Over the past weeks, Chelsea have had some big games: Everton away and Wolves away. Big tests, and I think we all thought, look, if Chelsea win here, if we get 4 points here, that's a statement. And what we've seen are 2 defeats, 2 narrow defeats. You know, the Everton one was annoying with a penalty. The Wolves one was a last-minute collapse, which was, again, devastating. I think it's a kick in the teeth for Lampard, for Chelsea's title aspirations. It does now feel that Chelsea won't be winning the league this season, I think. Liverpool and Tottenham are honestly best equipped to win the league this season. I think that Liverpool getting that win does tip them for now, but I wouldn't rule out Mourinho's Tottenham just yet. Let me know your thoughts on these 2 recent Chelsea results in the complexion of the season.
In the complexion of the season, I have to admit that it's quite underwhelming, in the sense that I would have expected Chelsea to compete a little bit more for this race. I mean, it's still early days, but if you take a look at the table, they fell from like 3rd to 5th, right?
Yeah, even more now, because other teams are winning, other teams have got games in hand.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's very tight up top, and it's quite underwhelming, really, when you take a look at these defeats. But you already talked about Chelsea a lot, so I would like to quickly mention Wolves and Everton. I think that Wolves selling Diogo Jota was honestly a good decision for them, because now they have the incorporation of Pedro Neto, which looked amazing in that game. That kid is talented, and also Daniel Podence. They look very, very good together. They still need to continue to get more results, Wolves, because they're still kind of in mid-table, but I think they could certainly go up there for the European spots. And in the case of Everton, Everton was a team where at the start of the season, quick story, I guess, I put money on Everton winning the league.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I put money on Everton winning the league, and also then put money on Spurs. That is why I guess I watch Spurs more now. But Everton, I put money on Everton, but just really though, I put like I think like 8 quid, but just because like jokes. But I really like this Everton side with Ancelotti, because Ancelotti for me has been a manager that knows exactly what he plays at, and he's not messing around. He's just going to get his team and play. You know, that's what he's gonna do. And against Chelsea, I thought they were the better side, honestly, but I don't know what you feel about that.
I mean, Everton played a good game plan. They frustrated Chelsea a lot. They really did. They were very good in the defensive phase. I think Chelsea struggled without wingers in that match. Having Werner and Havertz out on the wing, it did not work against Everton one bit. They could not get in behind the Everton defence. Everton lined up with 4 centre-backs across the back 4, which actually worked quite well. It kind of created a block back there. Very minimal chances for Chelsea. Everton played a perfect game plan. Also had a lot of chances on the counter-attack. So, yeah, I think Ancelotti got that one absolutely spot on.
Yeah. So now moving then into another London team. Arsenal. My goodness. Arsenal, where are you? I cannot see you. You're so far down below of the table. I cannot hear you, what you're saying from down there. They're so horrible. My goodness.
Yeah, I know. Unbelievably poor. An unbelievable string of embarrassing results, really. The red cards, the collapses, the lack of attacking football, the player performance, even the tactical setup at times. A lot's going wrong there, I think, from top to bottom at Arsenal. I'm interested to hear what you think about Arsenal right now this season. Of course, it's easy to say they've been embarrassing, but in terms of a little more like analysis.
To be completely honest, I look at Arsenal and feel a team that is very disjointed, in the sense that it's kind of like Arteta shored up their defense for the very first half of his tenure there, but now their attack is just completely gone. Like, they're creating the least chances in the Premier League by far, right? They're like 18th on shots, something like that. That's horrible. And yeah, I think Arteta honestly should be looking to be less pragmatic a bit and try new things out, because they are falling down and they're falling quickly. I don't think they're going to get ever pushed down into that relegation battle, because they are there are teams that are worse than them basically, and they're like Sheffield United. They're gone. Like they are gone. 1 point so far, they're gone. But like I said, I think that he needs to start trying new things out, like the sense of playing with just a back four. They keep playing this back three, and I don't get Tierney as a left center back. No, I want to see the Tierney just push further forward. I think that would look better. Maybe a 4-2-3-1, Saka through the left. They need to try new things out because they are getting pulled down into that hole now, and they're gonna be many more jokes about Arsenal to come, I could say. And maybe the reason why Arteta is being this pragmatic is because maybe in his mind he thinks that Arsenal could get pulled into that relegation battle. And that is why he's trying to at least not concede. I don't know about you, but I think that he's looking to be a quite paranoid manager, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think the Arteta Arsenal situation is this. He came into a club that has been renowned for attacking well, taking the game to teams, but being so wide open at the back that everyone thought we can get 2 or 3 goals against them, even at the Emirates. So Arteta came in, and he immediately implemented a defensive block, if you like, back there. He put them in a back 5. He said, we're going to be this pragmatic without the ball. But what Arteta had in his early days, and in the first half of the season, or the first half of his tenure, if we like, because, of course, he's come in midway through one season, then he started this one, so it's hard to describe that, if you like. But if you look in the FA Cup run, they had such a good block back there, such a good system with, 7 defenders on the pitch. And look, this is anti-football. It's not pleasant to watch, but it worked because of the counter-attacks they had. They were being extremely prolific, if you like, in the final third. Like you said now, what we've got is that wall back there, but with absolutely no attack. Arsenal are putting out the sort of numbers in attack that West Bromwich Albion are putting, that Burnley are putting, and these are really embarrassing statistics for an Arsenal side. So I agree. If you want to be an Arsenal coach, you've got to show more intent than just putting 11 men behind the ball. I've seen some really, really defensive performances from Arsenal. Some when they've got results and people have called it brilliant. Some when they've lost 3-0 like against Aston Villa and people have called it embarrassing. I think it's very poor and anti-football, whether they win or they don't. But what we've seen now is the anti-football, if you like, on top of bad results. It's been a bad combination. I don't think they're going to be in a relegation battle. I think they'll actually maybe even end up in Europa League spots come the end of the season. But still, what we're seeing right now is very, very poor.
Yeah, and on the other hand, Southampton, which they played just recently, they're the opposite. Recently, they're looking pretty good, and that just tells you that it's all about the intent, like you say right there. I love that word that you said, intent. If you have that intent to play that way, it doesn't matter if you lose. It doesn't matter if you draw. You're at least putting kind of an aim. There's purpose to what you're trying to put every single day. And that is what ultimately for me football is. I don't look at football by results. I look at football by what you actually produce. And if you put out there a team that shows that they have an aim that they want to achieve, maybe in 1 year, maybe in 10, I like that because you're at least giving it 100% of your effort. So the next game that we were going to be covering was going to be Barcelona versus Real Sociedad, but due to time constraints and because, well, we've already discussed Barcelona quite a bit already in this podcast, and maybe you've already heard a lot about it already, we are just going to be wrapping everything up right now. So it's going to be basically everything for this very first episode of the Engine Room podcast. Remember, has been the pilot, and we're going to be hoping to see you a lot more throughout as we try to launch this podcast for the near future in early 2021. So, of course, let us know in the comment section down below, because this is going to be going up on YouTube, any feedback or any questions that you might have for us both. And be sure to follow us on all social media channels so we can get that as well if you want to be a little more personal with your message. So yeah, how did you find it, Pablo?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought we discussed almost all the relevant football topics. Of course, we did a deep dive into the Champions League draw. I thought for a first episode it went really well. So yeah, like you said, I'm excited to see what the people think about this one, if they listen to the whole thing. What they're thinking about the setup, what they want to see for the future. Yeah, all of that. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, so this has been the Engine Room, and thanks for tuning in. Ciao, ciao.
Goodbye.